Hello and welcome guys. As you can see, any moment now we are leaving the great surrounds of the safari in Africa and we are jetting off. Adam put a plane on the screen going across the screen around about now. Hey guys, we just landed in China. So welcome to another edition of the Business Owner Elevation Book Club, where if you're a business owner, a coach, a consultant, and you're looking for new knowledge, education, and things that can just take you to that next level in success in what you're trying to figure out in business, you're in the right place. We take you through things like sales, marketing, operations, mindset, personal development, all of those key areas and books that have actually had a great impact on me. So I'm going to share with you this week a book that is a very prolific book. As it says on the front, more than 1 million copies sold. And actually I've had this book a few years, so I'm sure it's probably sold another million on top of that. So the book is none other than The E-Myth Revisited. And I've got a little bit of story about the E-Myth before I even tell you what the subtitle is. When somebody first recommended this book to me, I thought it was something to do with e-commerce. And I found out that it was actually, the E is for entrepreneur, the entrepreneur myth. And you know, I don't think I picked up a copy of this for about 6 to 12 months because I thought, actually, who cares about the myth of e-commerce? And anyway, I can't remember how it unfolded, but anyway, I did find out eventually it's the entrepreneur myth and why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. So this is written by none other than Michael E Gerber. He is, as it says on the book, the world's #1 small business guru. And how did he get that title? He probably just wrote it on the book. Yeah, and if you've not watched one of our videos before about positioning by Robert Dean Smith, he talks about giving yourself your own title. There's a few people out there who do it and actually works pretty well because you get positioned that way. So kudos to Michael for doing that one. World's #1 small business guru. But let's get into the content. I'm just going to jump into the chapters so you can see what this book has in store. So you got chapter 1, the entrepreneurial myth. So that confused my myth around e-commerce. Chapter 2, entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician. That's something we're going to touch on in today's review. Infancy, the technician's phase. That's chapter 3. Chapter 4, adolescence, getting some help. Chapter 5, beyond the comfort zone. Chapter 6, maturity and entrepreneurial perspective. And then we go into chapter 7, the turnkey revolution. Chapter 8, the franchise prototype. Chapter 9, working on your business, not in it. That's going to be a big one today, guys. Chapter 10, the business development process. 11, your business development program. And then we have 12, your primary aim. And then he goes into some other things to do with strategy, and I'm not going to touch on those, guys, because that will come a bit later. So the book, I really love the book. I remember when I first read it, it's actually in a really decent sized font. So it's quite big, it's quite spacious, and it's easy on the eyes. You know, some books the font's a bit small, and maybe it's just my personal preference. When the font is a bit smaller, it makes it harder to read a book. And I know sometimes people just want to have less pages actually and just reduce the font size, but I don't know what it is, but I like this font size. So when I release my book, it's going to be like this, guys. So he tells the story of the entrepreneur myth, and he gives some real great lessons, but he does it through the story of Sarah. And Sarah is a lady who runs a baking company. She bakes pies. Who ate all the pies? Who ate all the... I'm only joking. Anyway, so I'm just going to touch on this one. I met Sarah after she had been in business for 3 years. She told me they have been the longest 3 years of my life. Now, if you're not a startup and you've been established for 3 years, how true is that statement for, you know, you're going through some really crappy times or difficult or challenging times? He uses Sarah's story to break down and unfold his techniques, his methodology, and his ways of actually making a business run effectively. And what he does, he explains the entrepreneur myth, and the entrepreneur has split personality. Yep. And so he introduces you into the 3 personalities that we all possess, and these characteristics that most people aren't even aware of. The problem is that everybody who goes into business is actually 3 people in one. Like, what? Schizophrenia? Possibly, actually. So he introduces the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician. And the way that he breaks it down, he goes into it a bit more, is that the entrepreneur is the visionary in all of us. The reason why we set up the business, the person who could see how far and great we could take the business. The manager is focused on the systems, the logics, the processes, whereas the technician is the person in us, the personality in us, who just likes to do stuff. Let's get stuff done, you know, and they get knee deep into that stuff. And so it's kind of like you've got all of these traits in you, because when you set your business up, you probably created a plan or had an idea, you systemized some sort of approach or process, and then you did the work. But what he explains is that you've got to give time to all three by letting the entrepreneur direct the business, because the entrepreneur is the person who sets the tone and creates the business effectively, and then you can systemize the business, and then you can allow your team employees to then be the technicians and do their jobs. So he talks about teams, employees, and he goes into how you grow a business and how you take on your first employee. So he takes you through the story of Sarah when she's about to thinking about taking on Elizabeth, which is her first employee. And what he also then talks about is you've got to do it with a focus of actually not giving away responsibility, and it's your job to be responsible for the employees that you take on. It's not let them go and do what you think they need to do. It's actually go and let them do what you've instructed them to do, in the sense of where the business is going. And so it's really powerful in that respect. So you start to think about, well, how do I grow my business and have people in it? So he then speaks about growth and why it's needed in your business. So in short, businesses that get small again die. They literally implode upon themselves. So, you know, he's really taking you through the fact that you've got to push forward, and moving forward is the key to you to continue to grow. And the next part is not right away necessarily, but over time they die with atrophy and, you know, and to their detriment. And then we go into they can't do anything else. So it's an important point that he raises here. And then he talks about, as you get further into the book, growth, scaling and franchising, like the famous Ray Kroc. I'm sure most of you watching right now know who that person is. You don't? Can you put the golden arches on right now, Adam? It's the creator and owner, well, he's passed away now, of McDonald's. So anyway, there's a good quote here I just want to mention. So he talks about some really interesting things to do with creativity and innovation. And the quote goes like this, and it comes from Professor Levitt, who he quotes in the book. Creativity thinks up new things, and innovation does new things, the action, the movement. And so, you know, it's really cool. I like his approach. I like the way the book's written. It's got that story theme, and you know what, stories work best whenever you're explaining something. He talks about organizational strategy. So he goes into some things. I'll show you a diagram shortly. But just so you know, most companies organize around personalities rather than around the functions, which is basically a surefire way for your business to go into chaos. So go around the functions, guys. And this book, as I mentioned, he breaks it down. So I know there was a diagram here. So he even gives you some explanation. Even if you're small, you're a lean company, you know, if you read the Lean Startup, it gives you an idea of what kind of positions actually need to exist in the business, even if you fill all the spaces for the first point, you know, if you're just a solopreneur. If you're a bit bigger, then obviously you can start to look at what are the functions. And then finally, what I really like is that where he starts to get Sarah, obviously who's telling the lessons and story through, where she, you know, performs the actions of what he's teaching her and gets her to the point of understanding the rules of the game. And this is important. Every business needs it. And one of the most important set of standards, which is quite interesting if you watch our last episode, you must establish is a management system through which all managers and all of those who would become managers in your company are expected to produce results. Standards surrounding your primary aim, your company's strategic objective, the rules of the game. Rules of the game, guys. So for me, it's a very powerful book. I really like it. You know, it's got some great content in there. It's a book that actually I probably will come back to and read again. And, you know, for me, one of the best things about books, whether it's a physical book, an audio book, it doesn't really matter. Or whether you're reading something on Kindle, is that you take action off the back of the knowledge, and then this is definitely something you can take action off the back of. So the E-Myth Revisited, why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. I'm going to rate this book 8.5 out of 10 this week, guys. Mr. Michael E Gerber, go get the book. I do recommend it. It's on the recommended reading list for many people out there, many companies, and I recommend it too. So it's been Leon Street from the BOE Book Club with another episode. This time, I'm sure you enjoyed the sights of the Great Wall of China. Did you put that behind me, Adam? Make sure you have. And next episode, I'm not actually sure where we're going to be. I think we have a mystery flight somewhere, and and all will be revealed on the next episode. So guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you very soon.